Hello case fans, I'm the PC Expert Amateur and we're going to take a look at a case that I got really lucky for the price on. Normally it sells for over $100, which I think is a bit too much, but this is actually a pretty good case from what I've looked at. Now this review is only going to be the first review. I'm not going to be doing thermals. This is the Antec P20C White. Ooh, I know you're excited now. And here it is. We'll first take a look here. As you can see, it doesn't say P20C there, but it says P20C there. And it is an Antec. It is the Performance series. And this is what it looks like. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult for me because I don't have this on my tripod, but I will try to put it on the pod. All right. There we go. Now I'm on TV. Woohoo! How exciting. Not really, but all right. So let's see. What else can we talk about? Well, it looks like right here we have two positions that could potentially be used for 120 millimeter fans. And let me open this up so it's easier. Now, I will tell you that when you first get a case like this that has the screws or thumb screws, they are often very challenging to get open. Now these have captive thumb screws, which is to say that they are not supposed to be separated from they're not supposed to be separatable easily, anyways, from the hole. And that actually was it was my fault that this came out, but that's okay. What you could see there was that it's not going to very easily fall out. So we can see there's a little handle here, and there are the two thumb screws, and it is protected on one side only with plastic. I don't know why they didn't do it on both sides. It also has these that fit into the holes right here. So this is a slide out. So when you loosen the screws, you're going to want to slide it that way a little bit, maybe half an inch, which is, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 centimeters, and then you'll be able to take it off. And it rides on this part right down here, this ledge down here. So, and it will be also flush with this top part here. So it is sitting in basically a 3-sided frame, and that's fantastic. It does have about 1 inch of clearance underneath the case, which is not very much, but it should be enough. Now, what else can we talk about? Oh, in the back you can put a 120 millimeter fan, and you will be able to adjust it slightly up and down, as is pretty common in cases. It has 7 slots for cards and stuff, and it has a fairly large opening for the back of the motherboard. Unfortunately, they did not think to perforate the right side panel, so there's no way that you can cool off the back of the motherboard from this side. Also, it's not deep enough for you to install anything other than a very thin fan, but you could, in theory, make a hole here and then mount a fan on the outside. And again, we do have this. You can adjust it. Oh, like I said, they really lock these things down. Hold on. So you can adjust this in any direction like that as well. And then from the back, you have to adjust the height. So let me go ahead and remove that back panel, and then we can adjust that. And this one slides just like the front one. And it's just a plain one. It does have a different kind of retainer instead of those built-in posts. This actually has screws here, which I think was to simplify the production. And it has that hand grab there. Now you will have to work around the cabling, so I would suggest that if you're going to work on this, adjusting the graphics card height for the support here, do this before you get all the cables in place, because the cables are most definitely in the way. In fact, not only are the cables in the way, but the strap, which you can partially see here, it's kind of like a dark gray and yellow, actually is in the way of the movement of it as well. So I'm going to actually have to loosen up this strap because I know I'm going to want this toward the bottom, not toward the top. There. Make sure you do that before you start mounting stuff in order to make it easy for you to do what I just did. And then tighten it up. Right there probably would be about the length of my graphics card or GC. I call it GC because the GPU is the processor on the card. We do have 3 120 millimeter fans. I did test it. The fans are not that fantastic. They're okay to push the air in through the front. They have enough static pressure to do that. They're not going to like create a tornado inside and really push air through fast. You're going to want to upgrade the fans in the event that you want to have much more airflow going through here and at a higher pressure to push around all the obstacles. So anything that's between the fan and wherever you put your exhaust fans acts as an obstacle. And the more obstacles, the more twists and turns, the more power in terms of static pressure that your fans have to have. Right. So let's see. What else have we got on this side? We do have on this side, you can do 120, 140, and I think maybe 160, judging by this third channel of slots. And there is a magnetic dust filter. Now, if you're going to use this for exhaust, you don't need this. You only need this if you're doing the top for intake. So you can take this off, you can put it on the back of the case or whatever. You can mount ITX, micro ATX, ATX, and even E-ATX, although I'm not sure if you can get the largest E-ATX on here. And it does come with 9 standoffs. And the default position, which looks to be for ATX. Oh, I almost forgot. I was talking about putting an AIO over here. If you put the radiator over here, you can get the largest, as far as thickness, you can get the thickest radiator, as far as I can tell, in this position. Like the height Q60 will fit in here. The Liquid Freezer 3 will fit in here. And even if you take the height Q60 and you replace their regular fans with 38 millimeter thick fans, they should be able to fit in here, which is utterly amazing. And that's, definitely, that was one of the things that really caught my attention. I didn't know because most manufacturers never tell how thick of an AIO you can put in any of the positions. And so I took a gamble on whether this would be able to or not, and it does. So that was really exciting for me because that adds a lot of potential to this case for a lot of people who want to do water cooling, especially if you're doing like Intel 13th and 14th gen, i7 and i9 especially. I think that the new generation that's coming out, and they're renumbering them starting in the 200s and 200 Ultras, 250 Ultras, whatever it is, are going to be a lot cooler than the 13th and 14th generation. So that's not going to be a big concern. You won't necessarily need to use water cooling, but if you want to, you can. Now, unfortunately, there is a trade-off. This top mount position where you can put a 360 AIO, unfortunately, does not allow you to have 2 radiators mounted, and this one will not allow a thick radiator like the Liquid Freezer 3 or 2 or the height Q60. So that's a downside for people who insist on top mounting. I don't like to top mount because you get better temperatures in front than you do on top. Top is a compromised position. You don't get the worst temperatures, but you don't get the best temperatures either. And of course, this is the slot where the rear input-output port goes for the motherboard. And that's pretty much it. Now, if you look here, you can see that the height of fans is totally adjustable by using these slots that they have put in on each side. And again, it is 120 and 140. Make sure when you're installing it that you don't accidentally put your 120 on the 140 channel, because then you're going to have to unscrew this side, or whichever side you started on, and screw it back in the correct channel, which, believe it or not, I've done once or twice. Now, just taking a quick look here, there is a nice little feature for this that is going to be helpful if you're building, especially if you're like me and you're in and out of a case a lot. And I think actually I'm going to be looking for this when I choose a case for my AMD build. And that is, the back plate is removable, which means you can slide your power supply in this way instead of having to push it through this way. Now, I'll tell you what's bad about having to push it through this way. When I was replacing my power supply on my computer this morning, I accidentally destroyed one of my SATA ports because the cable, even though I was pulling the cables out of the way, one of the cables must have gotten snagged, and it destroyed my SATA port. Fortunately, I have 4 other SATA ports. You can take this, mount it on the back of your power supply, and then push the whole thing in with the power supply, and then you can reconnect it. And that is, I think, a nice little thing. Also, because when you're sliding a PSU or power supply in this way, any cables in this area are going to get in the way. You can see the back side now, and I'm going to get to the front side in just a minute. You see that there is a bit of cable management here, not too much, but a little bit, and you can use the tie downs to help you manage cables on this side. You can use tie downs over here as well. And I will warn you, if you get a big bundle of cables going through these things, it's going to be bulging out so much you will have a hard time closing the back panel. I have that problem with my Corsair 5000X. It's convenient to do it this way for the manufacturers, but it's inconvenient for those of us who actually have to deal with the bulkiness that results when you're building out a big, a very fairly fancy computer like what I've got. Even though mine has some older equipment in it, it's still pretty good. Now, you do have a single bay cage for hard drives, and that is where you find all of the little bits and bobs, as my British friends would say, I believe. So we have cable ties and bolts and more bolts and an extra Velcro strap. Gosh, Antec, were you guys running short on Velcro straps or something that you only gave us one? There's also a set of what looks to be little thumb screws. I'm not sure what those are for yet. And there is a knurled nut that has a neck on it, but I'm not sure what that would be for. Would it have helped if Antec had actually provided instructions about that? And here are the instructions. You can look through this on your own time. It explains how to install everything. My Corsair 5000X, I did not like the manual, even though it was in multiple languages. It was difficult. It was incomplete. Some aspects I had to figure it out. It also comes with the warranty information. By the way, this is plastic, but unlike the one that I reviewed, which I think was the Zalman, where it was warped, this one is not warped. This is actually a good quality one. The last thing that it comes with is a splitter. So it's got a 1, 2, 3, 4-way splitter for fan, for those of you who don't know what that is. It is held in place with these little holes inside of here. Also, here are all the cables for the front input-output, which I'll show you in a second. But we do have the USB. That's another USB. We got connectors for audio and fan. And this is for the power and reset and the LEDs.
And if you need to mount some SSDs, there are 2 mounting holes or positions here, and they actually have grommets in them. They're nice soft rubber grommets to cushion them, so that's a plus. A nice touch is that they have these all screwed in instead of hot glued in, So if you need to replace them, it shouldn't be too difficult to get them out.
Here is the front, which is, it's kind of an interesting asymmetrical appearance. Let me back that up so you can see it a little bit better. All right, and so we've got that nice little side there, which is interesting. And you can open it. Now this is metal. It actually reminds me of Corsair's design, and I'm kind of, there are some other similarities I've noticed that make me think that this is manufactured by the same company that did the Corsair 5000X and other cases. And then there's this nice mesh with the reinforcement bars across that to help keep it from coming apart. You can just put this underwater and wash it off, and then tap it to dry it, or you can use a little cloth to dry it that way. But that's very nice to have. Now, again, if you're exhausting from this side, you not want to use this because you don't want your exhaust blocked. But most of the time, this should be intake, not exhaust. And since there's no side mounting position for fans, for most people, this would be the typical intake position. Almost forgot. Yes, I didn't break it. Whenever I have to do this, I'm always a bit nervous that this frame is going to break. That actually happened on the Combi's Kingdom Classico Storage Master. They did send me a replacement, but they didn't send me one of the dust filters they said they were going to send. So the reason you want to remove this frame for the front is because this gives you full, easy access to mounting the fans here, which is a great little feature that is not on the front of my Corsair. It's a lot more awkward to do. You can see they've got holes here where you can run your fan cables through, so you can get them to the motherboard easier, or to the hub, or whatever you're going, the splitter, whatever you're going to do. I don't think it's anything important. So the nice thing about this front again is you can remove it for easy access to this, unlike my 5000X. And now we're going to look at the top. The top has this nice dust filter, as I said, and you've got this, which is, again, reminds me again of Corsair's, although Corsair has 2 channels on each side instead of 1 and 3. We do have 2 USB 3.0 ports and a Generation 2, which is even better. I wish these were also Gen 2. This is Type A, and this is Type C. And we've got 2 jacks, which is nicer than the 5000X, which only offers 1 jack on the front. Just like the Corsair, this one has a reset button that's too easy to push. It's right there. It's not even flush. It actually sticks out a little bit. Reset buttons should ideally always be recessed a bit so that it's hard to accidentally push them. Believe me, I've done it more than once. And we've got headset or speakers and microphone here. This is a power LED, and this is the storage LED. Now for my AMD build, I want something that's all 3.2 Gen 2. One final note, it's not just the back door, it's the front door too. For some reason, just now when I was putting this back on after taking the fan out, for some reason I could not get this all aligned. The screws were offset from the holes, and sometimes the stays wouldn't go into the holes over here and here, and even now I couldn't get this correctly tightened down. At one point it was wobbling over here, and it was just, they need to look at their prototypes a little bit more deeply and make sure, because something like this where I just spent like maybe 3 to 5 minutes trying to get this door mounted correctly, that's unacceptable for somebody like me. I'm in and out of my case all the time, and I need it to be easy to get in and out of my case, not a struggle. And also, it's, and I think this is a good thing in some ways, is that this is actually really tight in here. But again, ow, I have to be careful to make sure it's going all the way in. It's not, okay, that's better. But I don't know if you can see it, but This is actually going in a little bit off, a little bit, and I can't even screw them in all the way like I did on the back. So, you know, that's not a good thing. And the bottom. Not much to talk about here other than the fact that you can see now that there are 2 channels where you can sit the storage cage. So you can unscrew it, which is a little bit unwieldy to do it that way. It would have been nicer if they'd had thumb screws here or something. You can unscrew it and then you can slide it over into this pair instead, and then you can screw it back in. They also have this filtering air that's going to the power supply. Unfortunately, it is a little bit loose, and that's the same problem I have on my 5000X. If it's as bad as my 5000X, and I think it's not quite as bad, then it's not actually going to do much of anything, because the one on my 5000X doesn't ever catch dust. I've checked it a few times, and it's always like, nope, I've been running this thing for 2 years, and it doesn't catch any dust. So that sucks. And I don't like these feet because the feet are not screwed in place, and they will come off. I've already lost a couple off of my Corsair. All right, I have mounted some fans in here. Well, a fan in here in addition to the case fans that came with it. And I wanted to show you, if you put a strong fan in the exhaust, what it's going to sound like. And so you probably can hear it, because that is a Delta fan. Deltas, they make a lot of different kinds of fans. They're not very well known outside of enthusiast circles, but yeah, you won't actually see them in most stores, or on you'd have to search for them online. But Delta makes great fans. A lot of them are very powerful. You can get some that are super powerful and super loud, and they're great for servers. And some of them are too loud. Some of them get to the point where you can only use them in a server room, so you'd have to isolate your computer because it would actually be loud enough to damage your ears. But yeah, that's what that sounds like. Now if we come over to this side, you can still hear some noise from these fans, right? It's not as bad, but it's still kind of noisy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the rear fan now, and we're going to see what it sounds like without the rear fan. Okay, so the rear fan is off, as you can see right there. And getting closer. Now, for some people, this is still too noisy. The nice thing about it is I'm personally not hearing any weird noises out of these. I should probably talk quieter because I'm so close to the microphone. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's very quiet. But not, again, some people are very, very, very sensitive to noise. And, you know, when I first got into this and decided to make my channel, I was like, I don't care about noise. Noise isn't important. But from hearing from lots of people on the forums where I volunteer, it is important. There are people who get really irritated by noises, and for some people, they probably could just learn to ignore them like I did when I was young. I used to have a lot of problems with sleeping because every little noise would wake me up. And then eventually I was like, why am I letting them annoy me? I don't have any control over them. So I'll just let it be. And I learned to let it be. And the noises generally don't bother me anymore. Now, I do have one weakness, and that is random noises, like the dog next door barking in the middle of the night tends to wake me up. But when I was in it, so I'm. The point is, some people have legitimate sensitivities. Autistic people cannot filter out sensory perceptions of any kind, and so they don't get the choice to ignore noises. Those noises are always present for them, and they just have to learn to adapt. But it takes time, and that's why you'll see people who are young, very young, and are autistic are really struggling So please try to understand. If you're not bothered by noise like me, then that doesn't mean that everybody feels the same way as we do. There are people out there that just can't handle it for one reason or another. Some people have very sensitive hearing. Okay, and that's it. One last little thing, and that is this door I find a little bit annoying. The reason I find it annoying is it'll stay in place. See, it's not, but eventually it does come loose. If you just want to leave it unscrewed, you can't do it. Like on my Corsair, there are stays on this side that pop in here and here. I can't do that with this case because it doesn't have that option available. And I don't like that. I like not using the thumb screws because I'm in and out of the case a lot. And so for me, thumb screws are not useful. For the average builder, for the average person, they are. But for me personally, I'd rather have some other mechanism, like stays that, kind of like it's like a knob and it fits into a hole that just barely fits in the hole. And so it's stuck in there, and then you can just pull it out, over and over again. And sorry, I didn't mean to suggest something there. Woo! But yeah, and what also bothers me about this is that when I want to close it up, and the cables are not an issue, is that if you don't get it right, it may not seat at these points here correctly, the screws. So there's a very simple solution, and I'm very happy that they did it this way. I loosened up these two bolts a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little turn. Loosen them up, and that makes it so much easier now to attach this without one or the other of those screws not seating. So that's easy. Before, I tried a few times, and one would get in and the other one wouldn't, or this one would and this one wouldn't. And now, no problem. I can do it over and over again, and it's fine. So, in conclusion, should you buy this case? Well, if you want a really thick AIO radiator in the front, absolutely. If you want an anti-sag support for your graphics card or GC, not GPU, yes. If you want some extra maneuverability for the motherboard cables to come out from, yes. If you need to do a vertical mount, you're going to have to buy a vertical mount that'll sit on the shroud and put it there, the power supply shroud. If you want to have a really long graphics card or really long power supply or both, yes. There are a lot of really good reasons for getting this case. Is it the best case you could possibly get? Well, I'm sure no. But it is a very good case. It doesn't have the best thermals from what, some of the resources I looked at. The Corsair 5000X that I've got has much better thermals. But again, if you can get this for the $60, $70, maybe $80 as opposed to the MSRP, this is a really good deal, and I would encourage you to do so. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.
Hello, thanks for watching my video, and I need to ask for your help. So my financial situation has become very uncertain with my employer and also with the workers' comp case I have from an injury I had at work last year in 2023, for which I'm currently suing the workers' comp company. I really don't know what's going to happen in the next few months, but if you can find it within your ability without screwing yourself up to help me out, you have two options. One of those is to just go to my channel, Glenn's Fast Reviews, and make a one-time donation there. Or if you would want to do a repeating donation, a monthly donation, you can go to patreon.com slash GLENNMII. That's G as in Glenn, L-E-N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, M as in Mary, no, not I, but I, right? And there are various choices for you to sign up for. If you cannot afford the lowest option that I have put up there, let me know, and I will put in a lower option that can work for other people. Also, I want to say thank you to my very first Patreon, Rudik from Australia, who has been very kind enough to support me, and even said if I can't afford the postage to send the gifts that he has become eligible for, that's okay. I will certainly try to do that anyways, and it means a lot because not only did you choose to financially support me, but you've also been supportive in some comments on some of my videos, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, if there are any questions, please put them in the comments, and you here or on Patreon, and I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Sometimes I don't see comments right away because of the way YouTube works. And oh, by the way, thank you to Bleeping Computer, and it's the owner of Bleeping Computer, who goes by the name of Grindler online on his website, for allowing me to use his platform to promote my channel, the PC Expert Amateur, and I appreciate it very much. And if you need help with, say, malware or technical problems with your computer, the Bleeping Computer volunteers are a good bunch of people who have a great deal of knowledge about a lot of different kinds of problems with computers. And with there is a dedicated volunteer malware removal team there. Sorry. And we'll be happy to help you. And you can just go to bleepingcomputer.com and click on the forums. There's also lots of great news about cybersecurity, about hackers and stuff like that.